Okay, guys, we're back this week. Does anybody have any questions about what we went over last week? No one? Okay, perfect. This week, we're going to talk about braces and dictionaries. Okay? And really what this entails is how you define stuff. Okay? And Eclipse makes it pretty easy, makes it easy for you, okay? So it's kind of the work smarter, not harder type thing, you know? So, a lot of times, you would think that you have to go in, and especially like on the question, answer paragraphs or whatever, that you'd have to put, return, question, period, space, cap next, all of that. We used to have to do that. Crazy, So in our dictionary, it would have to be like that. Now, the way they do it is like this. Bracket, large question, bracket, that's it. Eclipse already knows what to do. So you don't have to worry about it, okay? Same thing with answer. There's actually quite a few. For speaker, speaker's a little bit different. You kind of have to set it up with the semicolon or whatever. Paragraph is the same way for a parenthetical, and new paragraph, decimals, stuff like that. And we kind of covered that a little bit in what was that, numbers? Did we do numbers already? No. Numbers is an interesting one too. So, so we'll watch a little video or whatever, but I mean, they try to make it pretty easy, which it is.
Let's see how braces are used for special text within dictionary entries. Eclipse dictionary entries use braces to surround text that must not be inserted literally. This includes paragraph symbols, punctuation marks, prefixes.
Okay, did y'all see that on punctuation? Punctuation is the same way.
Punctuation.
It's the same way. You don't have to do all this elaborate stuff. A comma, space, whatever, or period, space, cap next. You don't have to do any of that stuff, okay? This is all you have to do. That's all you have to do right there. That's it, okay? Eclipse knows what to do after that, all right?
Marks, prefixes.
Prefixes is kind of the same thing. We've gone over prefixes and stuff like that. So the most important thing about prefixes is just knowing where to put the caret. You put the caret in the wrong place, you just change it into a suffix, okay? So that's the only thing you have to be really careful about, okay?
Suffixes, and other entries that you don't necessarily make every day. The Globaling and Dictionary Entries dialogues offer help for creating special entries. You can either press Control-E or drop down the list, where entries require you to type.
And this is kind of what that list includes, okay? So you have prefixes, suffixes, gluing stuff together when you want it, to be together with something else. Cap next is the L, for the cap next. Cap previous, question answer, speakers, centered, if you want it centered. I don't even know that I have a symbol for that, so it's not really that big of a deal. I think it's Control-C. I think it's Control-C or Alt-C. It might be Alt-C. And Alt-C will bring it into a new paragraph. Try it. Try that right now. Just because I'm in that video. Try Alt-C. Does it? Mm-hmm. And Alt-C will make a new paragraph, and from there it's going to center everything. Okay? Pretty cool.
Is it supposed to tab over?
I'm sorry?
Is it supposed to tab over automatically?
It should be in the middle. So when you start typing Alt-C, what does Alt-C do?
Yeah, it created a new paragraph, but it didn't have all
Alt-C, where did it put it?
it just created a new paragraph, but it's at the beginning of the line. Okay, I did it again, now I did it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it should do it. It should do it, so.
As in the case of a suffix, your cursor is automatically positioned at the spot where you need to type text.
You understand what it just said? So if you go into the special entries, okay, and drop down the box and say you want to do a suffix, it already knows. So it puts the caret right there, and where you're going to start typing, it already puts the mark right there. So it already knows where to go. You don't have to move it over. You shouldn't have to do anything, okay? So it already knows. For a prefix, you know, it's gonna put the, you know, your cursor right here with the caret on the other side. So when you type, it's moving the cursor over so that it knows to put it together. But it puts a cursor before the caret. After the caret is gonna be the suffix, okay?
While globaling, you can use shortcuts to insert symbols for paragraphs or punctuation. Thus, F2 opens the speaker list so you can choose a name that's already there or insert a new one.
You understand what it's doing there? So if you come to like a speaker, like you have, you know, one of your text for a speaker, and you know that the speaker is already in your list, you've already used it or whatever, or you want to create it, then this is how you do it, okay? And I'll show you that in just a second of kind of what they're doing, but that's exactly what they're doing here. This Jew, and I don't use those, but I mean it's Jew and snoo, okay? So really, you know, and a lot of people call it screw. It's SKWRAO. So it's snoo and screw is what it is, you know. And it's the left hand top with the vowels, and then the left hand bottom with the vowels.
And that's two different speaker identifications?
Yeah.
And so what do you do when you have multiple speaker identifications? If you, obviously those are only gonna do two.
Do two. See, and I do it a little bit differently. I do SN, which is the top, and then period, which is the top. So I do both of those. Both to the top, bottom, and then bottom, top. So that gives me 4, which is usually what we have. We have usually at least 4 attorneys in ours. So that gives me my 4 speakers other than the court. The court is all of them. Okay? So top, bottom on both, top, bottom on the other. That's the court. Okay? And we'll learn that in the next class or whatever. But that's what I do for my 4 attorneys. Now, you know, I don't want to get completely off, you know, kind of what we're learning today, but I mean, you know, like when we have, you know, if you ever come sit in my court, you'll know. Sometimes there's 10, 12, 15 people in there in a hearing, and anybody may say something at any given time. So you have to already know or pick out, you know, a certain symbol for those guys, so just in case they do speak, you know. So, I mean, I do man, man, and WOM, wom for woman, unidentified woman, unidentified man. I'll do hair, hair, you know, and to me, like it's the first thing that I look at. When I look at somebody, it's gonna be the first thing that I look at, or the first thing that I see, you know, and it'll be hair, hair, or, you know, pink, pink. But you don't want something that's gonna be like, big hair, big hair, big hair. You don't want something that's going to overdo it. You want something that's going to be 2 strokes. You know what I'm saying? So that was just kind of an example of, you know, or, you know, say they're wearing some thick glass and you go thick glass, thick glass. No, it's just glass, glass for glasses, brown, brown for brown hair. I do gray, gray, any of the colors. I mean, I have some crazy ones, and maybe I'll tell y'all camera. But, I mean, I do whatever comes to me first. So, but anyway, so that's kind of how you do it. So you have your speaker identification there. You want to define it. You know that it's going to be a speaker. It's one of your speaker lists. So F2, and you can push it right now. F2 should open up your speaker list. Okay? And then all you do is up here, type in the new speaker, which is going to be speaker 3. It says okay. It automatically puts it in there because it was the last one that was highlighted. You know, you could put Mr. Green in there and it's going to be right there. But say you want Mr. Griffin, it's like, oh, that was Mr. Griffin. But Mr. Green is in the hearing, but this symbol is for Mr. Griffin. Then you choose number 1, it puts it in there. And I'll explain that in a little bit, okay?
F3 inserts the symbol for a question, and F4 an answer.
You got that? And you guys should know that already. And if you don't, hit it right now. F3 is a question, F4 is an answer, okay? So say, and guys, you know, like when you're defining, and you know, maybe, you know, you have that dictionary that has every possible way to put a different question and a different answer. You have no idea how many times you can do that by leaving one letter off. How many different ways that you can put a question and an answer. By every time you hit it, just leaving one letter off every time. There's literally thousands of ways you can probably do it. Okay? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So you don't want to go through and every time type bracket, large A, bracket. Once this thing comes up, you push F4. F4 puts the answer thing in there already. Make sure that it's in your main. Boom, you're done. Okay?
To insert the symbol for a comma, press Control comma. Likewise, Control period. For a quick question mark,
You understand what it's saying there? So the control comma and the control period already puts the brackets in there and puts the periods and the comma in there.
In what scenario would you need to be putting a period and comma?
I don't really know. I have no idea because you're not going to put it there.
Yeah.
So really, I don't know that I've ever defined a comma or a period, because a comma or a period is just, well, I mean, and you guys have it different, but it should already be in your dictionary. But if it's not, then you need to put it in there. Mine is FPLT. Y'all's is what? PP
I
or
think theirs is, everybody else is the underlying function.
what's yours?
Right?
PP?
Yeah, and then comma, or that's for period, and then comma is WB.
Yeah. Anywho.
It's working for her.
Hey.
Yeah, she's doing really.
And that's what I've heard. That's what I've heard. So
Yeah.
if it works for you, great, you know. But I mean, it's however you learn.
Yeah.
I mean, you probably sit here and think FPLT. That's,
Actually, I would prefer that.
yeah,
It's not-
that's
sometimes I don't say
ladies
that.
and gentlemen of the jury or what, you know, with that many letters in that guy's theory. But I mean, whatever works, whatever you learned works for you. Use it, okay? So if you have to define it, you know, and it may not be in your dictionary because you may have somebody else's dictionary that was Stin Ed. And if they have Stin Ed, then FPLT is going to be your period, not PP. PP is going to be preponderance. If you have somebody from Stin Ed, it's preponderance, okay? So if it comes up preponderance and you need to change it, then that's how you do it. It's going to come up like that. Okay?
press Control /. There's also Control semicolon and Control colon, which would involve the Shift key. Control tilde inserts the symbol for a lock space. However, if you have an entire phrase whose words you want to keep together, you can use the lock button. Press the lock button again, and you'll get hyphens.
You see what it's doing right there? So if you have a phrase that's going to be used, and it's at the door store. I don't even know why that would be hyphenated, but whatever. But they're just showing you the different ways that you can do it. And it'll always put it together. And maybe the name of the store is called At the Door Store. You know? So you always want it together on the same line. You don't want it at the door store on two different lines.
Okay.
Okay? So that's where you would put the,
In this,
You can use the lock button. Press the lock.
that's where you would use these. These in between them are going to keep the words together. And you're gonna put it in a job dictionary because you don't want every time at the door store comes up if you're talking about something else, okay? So it's not real hard when you're gonna use it for just that one job.
in this week's SAC Pack, one of the places that had a problem was the Get and Go, and it was GIT dash and dash
Just
go.
in and go.
And I can see why you'd want to do that.
And you don't want get, in, go on the different lines, so that's why you would define it like that. And the lock button does that. So try that right now. You can probably try it in what you're gonna do is either global it or F7. F7 will highlight it, or G for global. And then do the lock again, and then lock again. The first lock should put these, the tilde. The next lock should put the dash, and then the next lock should take it off. Is that what it does? Write that down, because you're gonna forget. Write it down. It's really pretty, it's really good. I'm sorry?
How do you get to that little, where you can click on lock? How do
I-
you get to that little screen?
Highlight.
It is highlighted, but how do I then get, where's my lock button? Sorry. How do I bring up that little? Why? Oh. Where do I,
Get out of there.
no, how do,
Press escape.
okay, but how do I bring up that little
I know what you
banner?
said. Okay, now
Oh, there it is, okay.
what did you do? G? What did you push?
F7. But I have to use the function.
Try it. Okay. Don't do the F7.
Okay.
Well, actually, you know what? You can do the F7,
Mhm.
because if you do it right there, and then do that, it still kind of does it.
Oh.
So if you put the dash in there, if you do the F7, like say they just say it one time, and it's like, they're not, I remember they said it and they just said it one time. Where were you coming from right before the shooting? The at the door store. Oh, okay. And that's the only time they mentioned it in that, then you don't really need to global it. If you remember that they only said it one time. So that's where you can do the F7. Okay? And then just do Z and it should take it off. Did it? Unless you messed around with it a little bit. But it's no big deal.
It's
You can-
off.
Okay. So it's actually pretty neat, guys. So, but if you're gonna do the G or Control G to global it, then that's when the box comes up and that's when you use the lock, okay? Any questions?
Lock button again, and you'll get hyphens. Press it a third time to get back to regular spaces. It's a bunch of shortcuts, but it can really save you time.
Got it? Pretty good stuff. And stuff that can really shorten your editing time, okay? Got it?
I like that.
It's good. It's good stuff. Okay, one thing they didn't talk about was these little auto-include files. Remember last week I was telling you about making those little auto-includes for like your name, the test, and all of that stuff? That's exactly what this is. It's an auto-include file. So it's actually one of your block files that you're putting in there. Okay, so you have to create a block file in your files and then put it in there, and then it comes up, you know, with these little things. So that right there, you know, when you go in and you say you do break, and you're gonna take a break. There's a lot of different ways that you can do these things, because like I do off, like if we're gonna go completely off the record, and what it is off to me is whereupon an off the record discussion was had. So the judge is like, you know, I don't want this on the record, go off the record, off. Or he comes back and he says, you know what, we're gonna take a 5-minute break. Well, that's not off anymore, because you're not having an off the record discussion, you just took a break. So mine is break, and then it's whereupon a short recess was had. And then I do lun, LUN for lunch. Mark for marking exhibits. And that's what these little things are, as an auto-include file. And we'll go in that next class where, you know, I'll show you guys exactly how to do it. So you're already gonna have it in your dictionary, okay? You're gonna have it in your dictionary where when we get to the end of that class, we're gonna do a whole, you're gonna put a whole thing together. You're gonna put a whole, not deposition, but kind of a hearing together, where you're gonna do the whole thing, the certificate page, the title page, appearance page, witness page, certificate. You're gonna put these auto includes in there.
And
You're
that'll
gonna-
be in the fall?
Yeah, I think. Maybe. We're still talking about it. But maybe. But I'll get together with you guys about that. We still haven't decided exactly when, so it may be the fall, it may be the spring. So, yeah. But don't worry about it, because even if it is the spring, don't worry about it, because we're gonna go over all of this stuff that we're going over now, but it's gonna be quick, okay? So it's gonna refresh your memory on everything, but we're gonna go through it quick, and then the new stuff that we need to go through, that's where we're gonna spend some time, okay? So don't freak out, you know, even if it is that, you know, I'm gonna forget or whatever. One, you should be writing all these things down that I'm telling you, so that, you know, when you go back and practice, it's like, you know what, I wanna practice that, putting the dashes in or putting the tildes in on a certain word or stuff like that, okay? So the more you use it, the more you're going to remember, okay? And that's why I tell you guys to write it down. Use it as much as you can that week. That week that we do it is when you should be doing all of this stuff, okay? Even if you're just messing around, just mess around with it, you know, for 20 minutes. And you'll be surprised how much you can remember in 20 minutes just by messing around with it and remembering the functions, okay? All right. Okay, and this is just a little exercise right here, so if you kind of want to mess around with it, you can. You know, and you just push Control G. Well, doing by Control G, it already knows. It pretty much knows what you want to do. Okay? So that's where, and you guys do it. If you're in the exercise right now, which you should be, do it. Do what I just did right now, but you should be in hyperkeys, just do G on that first little exercise. This box should open up right here. And then all you do is just press number 1. It automatically puts it in there. You don't have to do anything else. No periods, space over, none of that stuff. Make sure that it's in your main dictionary, and then just press enter. You press enter, it automatically puts it into the form that it needs to be. Come here. G already knows pretty much that it's going to be a question. It's a question with something. Now, whether it's a question with something else, you were trying to do something else. So it gives you all of these examples of what it thinks that it may be. Well, all it is just a question symbol. So you already know it's a question symbol. Press number 1. You don't have to do anything. Bracket, large Q, bracket, enter. Already knows how to do it. Got it? Everyone have it? Yes?
Yes.
Pretty easy, guys. But, I mean, do you have any questions about it? And I think, let's see what they're doing
Today in the testing, in the Q&A,
here. Yeah.
I didn't even know till I was all the way done and with all the tests and I went back to edit. I didn't have one answer because I had included the I with my answer bank on every. So the answer was like, it thought it was the word inch and it had put it up in my question.
Oh,
But I mean, I figured it out, but
it's just F4.
what's it for?
Answer.
Yeah. But I couldn't, I didn't know at the time because I think I told you I'm still doing it in Word.
Text me. Text me and say, Dave, how do I put an answer?
So I was like trying to do like in Word or something, hit enter to let it go, and I couldn't get it down there. So I just,
No.
that was,
Write
I
this
started out
down.
trying to do it in Eclipse, but I ended up doing it. in Word.
Write this
So I got
down.
Frustrated. It's-
F3 question,
I've got
F4 answer. Guys, those are ones you want to remember. Those are serious.
Came in handy today when I got a little sloppy at one point. and
Yeah.
I didn't drop the bank, but I just didn't put it right, so I had to.
And it happens, guys. I mean, you know, it doesn't happen to me, but no, I'm just kidding. It does happen. I mean, where you're gonna stack, and it stacks sometimes. You know, say you put the answer yes with the question symbol because you had already hit answer yes and you were already hitting the question symbol. By the time you were done, you know, coming up and one key didn't come completely up and you were already pushing the question symbol, it's gonna stack. It happens, you know? So don't freak out. All you have to do is just put F3 question and you're good to go. Okay? So write them down because those are the two of the most important right there. Probably three. F2, your speaker, which y'all aren't going to use right now, but when you get out, you will. F3 is question. F4 is answer. What'd you do?
It's so easy to do.
I know. It's awesome. So I mean, you know, don't freak out. And I mean, you know, if you're in the middle of a test and it's like, I did this every time. Well, you can't really talk to them, but I mean, if you can use your phone, text me and say, hey, what's the symbol for that I hit for answer? And I usually carry my phone in the court too, so I mean, I'll text you right back. F4, answer. Instead of wasting 45 or 50 minutes trying to do return, answer, space over, you know, and it happens. I mean, don't, you know, but you just learned the hard way, and I bet you probably won't forget now.
No.
Yeah. So, I mean, you just learned the hard way that that's how you do it, and you're not going to forget now. So, any questions about that? Okay, and this is kind of the same thing that kind of goes back. You know, if you have to define your punctuation, then that's how you do it. Okay? If you're, it should already be in there. But if you have to, then that's how you do it. Okay? So this is all of the different ways that you can. Pretty neat sound, right? Anyway, that's how small things. So delete space, lock a space, remember? Lock a space is a tilde. I'm not really sure what intelligent parentheses is. But, you know, I guess if, you know, you have an open paren, closed paren. So, I mean, and some people do it. I don't think I've ever done it. You know, in my writing. If you have that much time, you're awesome. You're an awesome writer, but,
I mean, like, as people are writing, they would insert
and they can, you know, if you know that it's gonna be in parentheses. I don't know that I've ever written something that I really thought needed to be in parentheses right then and there, but, you know, if you're doing, closed caption and stuff like that, then, you know, you may. But anyway, that's how you define it. So all of this stuff, dashes is one that you're gonna use. You're gonna use it a lot, okay? So you might as well already figure out what you're gonna use for dashes, because you're gonna use it, because people start and stop all the time. And if you've never really paid attention to the way people